Hi, you have tuned to the Aggron channel, and I'm your host, Djingis, and I'm here with our last draft recap of the PSL Season 3 draft, and we have the 6 last teams here to go over with one new coach and one returning coach from Season 1 that was not part of Season 2, and then the rest are the returning coaches from Season 1 and 2. Well, Baron is from Season 2, of course, not Season 1. But these are the last things we're going to go through, and after this I will try and do my own draft recap and get that up on Monday. And this will be up on Sunday, of course, as I said earlier. And yeah, then you can hopefully look forward to some great matches. And I really wish that you will have as fun playing the matches as I will have looking at them and doing these videos and so forth. But without further ado, let's go right into it. And first out we have the Holland Heracross with Coach Jokra. And I'm sorry for pronouncing your name wrong. Wrong. I will stand Jokra, but I think it's Jokra. I'm not 100% certain. But he has the Latias, Starmie, Breloom, Blissey, Pyukumuku, Articuno, Mega Sableye, Skarmory, Gliscor, Togekiss, Piloswine, and Drapion. And I hate this team. I'm just gonna say this. This is the team that I hate the most. It is the worst team in my opinion, because I can't play with Stall and I hate Stall. So this is the worst team because of that. But it's so damn good. It's a perfect Stall team more or less with Skarmory, Blissey, Togekiss, Pyukumuku, Mega Sableye. You have so many opportunities. You can just play Stall completely. You also have the opportunity to be a mid-board bulky offense with things like Drapion and Latias, Starmie, Articuno as well, Togekiss if you're offensive Togekiss. The problem is that you have way too much defense on this team. You would have to pick up something not as predictive as Pyukumuku or Blissey, and maybe change that. But I know that Skarmory Blissey is a fantastic core that works well together, so that's not the one that you want to drop really. You have some weaknesses and you have some strengths. The strength is that not any single Pokemon except for Breloom can be one-hit KO'd without a super effective move. And even if it's a super effective move, most of these mons can take one. I think Breloom is the only thing on this team that cannot take a super effective move and live. And Gliscor might not be able to take an Ice Beam, but I think you can take one if it's not Stab, depending on how you build it. So you have some work there that you can do. It's a bulky team. It has some offensive power as well with Latias, Breloom, Articuno, Drapion, Togekiss, and Gliscor if you're on them offensive. So you do have that going for you. You have some good status mons that can use good status moves as well. Stupid hell, I'm getting a phone call from Tunisia. I live in Sweden. I have never been in Tunisia, so I'm not gonna take it. But yeah, that was strange. As I said, this is more of a Stall team than bulky offense. It might be run as bulky offense if you change Gliscor and Togekiss, typically defensive roles to more offensive roles. I can see it being more of bulky offense. But things like Mega Sableye, Skarmory, Blissey, Pyukumuku does not want to be run offensively. Most of the time you want them to be more defensive. So as a Stall team, this team is fantastic. As an offensive team, it lacks a bit, in my opinion. You won't be able to run a lot of the mons you have offensively, and you won't be able to have the depth to actually be able to run them more as bulky offense either. I mean, you can take hits with everything, but how many hits can each Pokemon take before they die? That's the problem that you have here. Everything can take a hit, but they might not be able to take 3 hits, and you might have them to take 4 or 5 to actually be able to do anything in return. I know that you have a lot of counter mons on this team and so forth, but it's the same thing really. You can take 1 hit and then you have to counter, and that might not kill the other Pokemon, depending on how much it does to you. And if the mon then get the crits on you, you will die. If it gets a high roll, you will almost be dead. So you have a lot of things to work around, and I don't think this team is built good enough for it to be able to stall out all opponents. So that's my take on it. It's a very good stall team, as I said earlier. I'm not going to talk too much more about this because I just feel like I will be repetitive if I do. So let's go over the next team, and that will be the Cincinnati Ampharos with my good buddy Baron, who made his draft league debut in PSL Season 2, and I think this is his second league in total. The second time that he will participate in a draft league. I hope he has one more under his belt, but I think this is the second time that he is going to play. And this team is better than his last team. It has some great mons to work around. It has some weaknesses though that I hope to point out here. But first out, he has the Clefable, Porygon 2, Zygarde 10%, Narven, Hitmonchan, Rotom, Mega Gyarados, Entei, Metagross, Gengar, Crustle, and Ditto. Fire, Grass, Water Core, Rotom, Mega Gyarados, Rotom, Mega Gyarados, and Entei. So good. That's a perfect core in my opinion. You also have the dual dragons in Zygarde and Narven that hits hard like hell and has a very good synergy between them in my opinion. And the only problem is that you are very Ice Weak and very EQ weak. The good thing is that you have a Clefable, you have a Porygon 2, and you have a Rotom. Well, and you have some mons that are immune to, and you have two mons that are immune to EQ. So you can make that work, but you will have to rely a lot on bulky Metagross to take the ice moves, so you don't have to run the Clefable and Porygon 2 every single week to take the EQ moves, and you will probably have to rely a lot on Rotom to get away the rocks that Noivern doesn't like, that Entei doesn't like, that Gengar doesn't like. Ditto might be a problem for this team, but I think it will be very good because it will allow you to pick up that ice weakness or the ground weakness and build around it. If your opponent has a lot of monsters that can take care of those moves, you can actually run Ditto to counter, to copy those monsters exactly that counter the ground and ice moves. So it's actually working very well in that regard here, Ditto. You don't really have a fighting weakness. I mean, Metagross can be weak to fighting, Gyarados and Porygon 2 are weak to fighting, but nothing else is really weak to fighting on the team. It's just the ice and ground weakness is really visible and can really see it. And then you have very good speed. You have decent speed tiers, and you have a lot of monsters that can be run in very good Scarf sets or speed sets and so forth. You have good setup. You have Dragon Dance on both Zygarde and Mega Gyarados. You have agility on Metagross, so you can run that in double speed. You don't have to run it scarfed. You have Ditto that can be scarfed and outspeed every single thing on the opponent's team, depending on what it will take, what role it will take, or what Pokemon it will become. You have P2 that can be very offensive, and the pairing between Clefable and Porygon 2 is really good. The pairing between Clefable and Mega Gyarados is really good. Like, if it wasn't for the ice weakness, this would be a way better team than it is. If it wasn't Noivern, but it was another special attacking Pokemon that wasn't ice weak, this team would be way better than it is. Because the dual ice and ground weakness is making those very spammable moves even more spammable against this team. I hope that I will be wrong, but maybe not week 1 because we face week 1, so I want you to fail week 1 and then play very well, Baron. But I like the team. It's bulky, it has some great offensive power as well. It will be very hard to deal with. I don't really have too much else to say. You have Spin in Hitmonchan, you have Defog on Noivern, Rotom, Crustle doesn't really have. I don't think Crustle has that. Gyarados might have Defog. No, it does not have Defog. I don't remember which ones get Defog, even if it is like 2 years since the Sun and Moon came out and they gave everything Defog. And I can't still remember everything that's got Defog and what didn't. So yeah, that's on me. But yeah, it's a good team. The only bad thing that I can see if you're looking at each specific Pokemon is that I don't think Crustle fits the team. But I know Armoldo got sniped from you. It got sniped from me as well. But Crustle is it's not the best one to have. I mean, it can be good. It has the Shell Smash ability, so it might, well, the Shell Smash opportunity, so it might be doable in that regard. And it might work in that sense, but it's not the best one to have. I mean, it's decently bulky, but it's yeah, it's a decent pickup, I guess, but it's nothing I would I would have picked up at all. I would have looked at other things in tier 5, especially looking at you already having Rotomo and Hitmonchan and so forth. I would try to get something else here. But yeah, with that said, it's a good team. I don't really have too much to say about it. Next up we have the Hamilton Grambles and Tchaikovsky, who Season 1 almost went undefeated, only lost in the finals I think it was, maybe one match before that, and then Season 2 didn't make it from the group, and if I remember correctly, and finished 3rd or 4th in the group. That's pretty big drops. I really hope that he can come back and be very good, and this team is scary as hell. This is one of my absolute favorite teams. This team should be top 5 with no problem. I forgot to say that, but Jessup's team should also be top 5 from last episode. But this team is... I'm speechless. Tornadus, Therian, Raikou, Slowbro, Snorlax, Scramble, Armoldo, Mega Absol, Ember, Registeel, Haxorus, Shaman, and Nidoqueen. A bit Ice Weak with Nidoqueen, Shaman, Haxorus, and Tornadus. But you do have a Registeel, you do have an Ember, and you do have a Snorlax and Slowbro. You have no problem taking care of ice moves. I can't really point out any single weakness to this team, only the good things. You have a perfect team to build, as you can run a rain team here with no problem thanks to Turn T getting Hurricane, Raikou getting Thunder, Slowbro being very good offensively as well if you want to run that. You have Swift Swim on Armoldo, you have Intimidate in Gramble, you have a good EQ Soaker in Snorlax and in Shaman that take care of the problem that Slowbro, Ember, Registeel, and Nidoqueen has with EQ. Shaman and Tornado Therian can help out with that pretty well. Slowbro can take EQs as well. So you have a very good synergy here. It's very good. The only thing is that I would like to see a stronger fairy than Gramble, but I think the Intimidate usability of Gramble will come in very handy on this team. Other than that, I don't have too much to say. It's a very good team. It's one of the best teams that got drafted. It has fantastic synergy. Everything is just... I can't really clank down on anything except for the fairy. I would like to see a better fairy on this team. Maybe something that had a wish opportunity, Aromatisse maybe. That could have been really nice on this team, just to make the team more longevity, so Slowbro and Snorlax doesn't have to rely on roosting up, recovering up. Same with the Tornados, Nidoqueen as well. So you have that you could have done instead, but I think that this is the best possible team you could have drafted outside of the Aromatisse for Gramble. It's really good. Yeah, it can can be a rain team. It doesn't have to. It can do very well as a sun team with Shaman, Nidoqueen, and Ember, and the Mega Absol. You have a great speed setup in Haxorus. You have great trick room options in Snorlax and Slowbro. So yeah, it's a very good team. Will be very hard to beat, and I really hope that with this team, Tchaikovsky should be able to bounce back from last season and be a top 4 team, top 5 team in this competition. Now we're gonna go to the Toronto Tyrantrams and Coach T-Man, and this is a scary team as well. Here we have Escadrille, Tangrowth, Umbreon, Heliolisk, Blastoise, Passimian, Mega Charizard X, Azumarill, Mew, Gigalith, Dusknoir, and Seviper. Sand team with Gigalith, Escadrille, it's the cheap sand, and I can point out 3 things about this team that makes this team a bad sand team, but it's still a very good sand team with Escadrille and Gigalith. And also picking up Tangrowth, which is maybe the best EQ switching in the game, if you want a resistance rather than an immunity. The big problem here that I can see is that Blastoise, Umbreon, Tangrowth, and Mega Charizard doesn't really want to be in sand. Same goes for Mew. And that can be a bit of a problem for you. Other than that, this is a very good team. You have the Heal Bell option in Umbreon, you have Wish on Umbreon, making things like Blastoise and Escadrille, being able to, and Azumarill for that matter, you can run multiple Belly Drum setups with Azumarill thanks to the Wish option for an Umbreon. Mew can do a lot of things on this team. You also have the defog options with Mew. You have a Rapid Spinner in Blastoise, and you have defog on Charizard, I think. But that's about it. you don't have too much to take away the rock weakness that you kind of have pre-Mega Evolution on Mega Charizard and even after the evolution on Mega Charizard. Escadrille isn't the biggest fan on, well, Escadrille goes Rapid Spin of course, but on this team you want to be offensive and you don't want to have it run a Rapid Spin. It's a good team, but I do feel like it lacks something extra that I can't put my finger on. But just having the power with Mew on this team makes this team better, makes it more usable, makes it more versatile. Since Mew is the most versatile Pokemon there is, and you can do a lot of things here. You might have to run. It might be a bit grass weak if Mega Charizard dies, and then you all have a Tangrowth to switch in on those things. Escadrille, Blastoise, and Gigalith doesn't really like that. Seviper is a nice pickup in the last round to try and patch up the grass weakness, but it adds to the EQ weakness that you will have on your team with Escadrille, Heliolisk, Mega Charizard, and Gigalith. So you have that problem as well. You don't have any immunities to EQ, and your best switch into EQ is Tangrowth, but some monster that runs EQ can actually deal with Tangrowth pretty well. As long as it's not Choice Bandage or Scarfmon. The best thing about this team is that Tangrowth does get regen, so you can actually regeneration, so you can actually switch it in and out in Sandstorm and still have it on pretty good health. And you can stall out the sand turns if you won't be able to run Escadrille through all 8 turns of sand or 7 turns of sand that you will get with Gigalith and Escadrille. But yeah, it's a good budget sand team. Passimian and Seviper are the only bad pickups in my opinion, but Seviper is actually pretty decent on this team due to the fact that it resists the grass weakness that you actually have, but it do add on the ground weakness, and it adds on to a bit of a psychic weakness that you picked up with Passimian and Seviper. Passimian, I'm just gonna say this again, I'm no fan of Passimian. I don't think this thing should ever get drafted. It has a trash ability in singles, and its move pool isn't that good. Yeah, that's about it. I think I'm gonna go to the next team now, and that should be the... Oh, we have 2 more teams, okay. Then we have the Bothland Bills and Lucina. The returning coach from Season 1 that didn't have the opportunity to take part of Season 2, but is back for Season 3, and I'm so glad for that. He drafted Zygarde, Florges, Virizion, Alolan Muck, Aselgor, Haunter, Mega Scizor, Rotom Wash, Victini, Swampert, Typenol, and Poliwrath. Oh boy. Oh boy, this team. Lucina is back, guys, and this draft shows it. Zygarde, Florges is a perfect combination, especially having the Mega Scizor in the back. Having Typenol on this team is very good. It's very bulky, having an option to Eviolite and being base 95 across the board except for speed, which is 55 or 59. You have Rotom Wash, which is a perfect defogger for this team outside of Mega Scizor. You have setup and good support moves in Aselgor. Aselgor is also a very good way to get rid of Fairy types, since Fairy types likes to switch in on Aselgor because it mostly gets U turns out, but it do get Sludge Bomb, which will take some pressure off of Haunter as well, not being the only thing that can run a poison move on this team. Because you do lack a bit of poison coverage on this team, in my opinion, but you do have Mega Scizor with the steel moves, so you will actually be very good there. Biggest problem that I see for this team, if I'm being honest, is the Ice and EQ. The reason I say Ice is because you have a Zygarde and you have a Virizion. Neither of those really likes to take an Ice move, and they are probably your most offensive mons on this team, except for Victini. You have Fire can be a bit of a problem as well with Mega Scizor there, but you see, and you have Rotom Wash, and Rotom Wash doesn't have Rotom Wash and Swampert, I should say. Neither of them have recovery. A Poliwrath can also take over that, by the way. Neither of Rotom Wash or Swampert or Poliwrath has good recovery, which means that you will be very reliant on Mega Scizor taking hits and recover up. You don't have a good wisher for Victini, for Rotom Wash, Swampert, and Poliwrath. Even if Florges is very good, which it has base 78 HP, Swampert has base 100, Polygraph base 90, and then you have Rotom Wash at base 50, so Rotom Wash might be able to work well with the Wish from Florges, but Swampert and Polygraph might not. So you have that problem there. Other than that, oh, I'm stupid. Did I say you had a problem with poison moves? You have a Alolan Muck right there. I'm spacing out. Jesus Christ. Well, I take back that regard then about poison moves. That's no problem then. You have a Virizion that takes ground moves. You have a Selgrid that can take a ground move, even if it's not meant to be bulky in that regard. Won't just Levitate, Mega Scissor can take ground moves, no problem. Rotom Wash is Levitator, and you have a Evilite type null, no problem. Knockoff is a bit of a problem here though with Zygarde that doesn't really want to lose its berry if it runs that, or leftovers, or choice band, or whatever. Haunty will dive to it. Rotom Wash doesn't want to lose leftovers. Victini will take a lot of damage, and it really doesn't want to lose its item. And type null really relies on the Evilite to be good. So you have that problem with this team. Otherwise, it's a decent team overall and can do a lot of damage to every single team. I really like this team, and it should be very high up in the rankings or in the tables after a couple of weeks, and should be very good for the playoffs as well. That's all I have to say about this team, really. Next up, we have the last team of the draft, and that is a new team, 100% new team, the Joliet Joltix and Coach Pokenob. And this is a team that I'm feeling can be very good or really bad. It completely depends on his playstyle. But you have the Landorus, Therian, Rotom Heat, Tyrantrum, Mienshao, Persian Alola, Alolan Persian, Muck, Mega Pidgeot, Latios, Thundurus, Therian, Slurpuff, Samurott, and Jumpluff. I'm just gonna say this right away, Muck, Samurott, and Jumpluff are not often that drafted. Muck is the more common pick of those three. Slurpuff and, well, Samurott and Jumpluff are almost never drafted, and are sort of meme picks. You really only have 10 viable mons, in my opinion, on this team. And Persian Alolan Persian is a bit of hit and miss, and could be very good on this team. Just get in the Tyrantrum or Landorus or Mienshao or Mega Pidgeot and Latios and so forth. You have very good offensive power, but you do lack a bit of bulk. Landorus will be forced to be bulky on this team, and it doesn't really shine in that regard. You also have a problem with speed tiers, in my opinion. You have a very fast portion of the team, and you have a very slow portion of the team. You have base 91 here, you have 86, you have 71, 105, 115, 50, 121, 110, 101, 72, 70, and 180. You do lack some speed tiers. 110, I mean, not 180. You do lack some speed tiers, but you do have good setup options as well. So it shouldn't be too much of a problem, but it's still something that I want to point out. And then we have the biggest problem of them all. You have two defoggers in Landorus and Rotom Heat, and you have Latios and Thundurus of course as well, and Mega Pidgeot, but the only real ones you have is Landorus and Rotom Heat. Both of those will have to run defog every single week. At least one of them will have, and that's a big problem for this team, because if both of them die without getting up, without being able to do a defog, your team is kinda weak to Stealth Rocks. And it's not like Landorus and Rotom Heat really likes coming in on Stealth Rocks, and they will have to stay in, defog, and then getting out. And if your opponent has ice coverage or water coverage, it will be very hard for them to actually stay in, and that's a big problem. I don't have too much else to say here. I'm just gonna see if I can find anything else to point out before I wrap this video up. I like Slurpuff, but maybe not on this team. You would be good with a bit of bulk here, which you lack in my opinion. But yeah, that's about it. Oh, come on. But that's about it. So yeah, I'm gonna finish the team here. The draft recap here. Thank you for watching this as well. You will see my draft recap on Monday of my own team, and if you are as hyped as I am for this league to actually start up again, comment in the comment section, or just be active in the server. But with that said, thank you for watching this video. I will see you next time.